Hi everyone, it's Autumn here with Black Spring. Just dropping in. I just had a couple of things on my mind today. For one, I just had a few things concerning, some of the. I'm sure you've heard by now of all the censorship, the shadow banning of conservative voices, as well as anyone that's anti the democratic socialism. Of course, you've heard of those things, but specifically, I wanted to speak to the history that the country has of basically liberating immigrants, refugees from places of conflict, tyranny, dictatorships. Specifically, I'd like to talk about the cornerstone of this will be related to the Second Amendment. And it's interesting that our country, again, has this history of liberating people from these from places of conflict or persecution based on religious beliefs or political beliefs. And that kind of brings me to the first group. Consist of there were a group of Marxists that basically migrated from Nazi Germany, and they would eventually take on the American education system. And they kind of, they started in Colombia, and they kind of peddled their act around. They actually had pretty extreme beliefs, even for Marxists, and I think even the Hitler regime was quite intolerant of the philosophies of this man, or of these men rather. However, the Marxists in the, I guess around the 60s, they were quite dark and quite oppressive in their ideals and pretty much of a nihilist perspective on life. And unfortunately, those ideas and those tones would seep into other, the constructs of society. American society would deconstruct society, even criticize the institutions of marriage, education, as well as sexuality. These were philosophies in which these Marxists had pretty dark and pretty empty philosophies on. Some people might even argue that Horkheimer or Marcuse had, maybe they were even influenced by Nietzsche and his philosophies on life and what in life and holds actual meanings, or what social constructs actual hold meanings. But unfortunately, they kind of use freedom of speech, and they use their platform to basically kind of subvert freedoms, and that basically kind of negatively affected freedom of speech and politically. To that end, on the political side, the observation that I've made is we do have people in our actual government that are serving our Congress. She too came from a background in which she was a refugee. She was liberated from the oppression in her own homeland, yet she uses her platform as well as Twitter to basically subvert the American freedoms, which she has benefited from. A very contemptuous platform Representative Ilhan Omar has for the country's culture. I mean, the bottom line here is that many of these immigrants or refugees have come to this country not to embrace the freedoms, the independence, the liberty, but more to promote their own political agendas or their religious agendas. Also, they're even willing to change science or to manipulate science in order to support whatever agenda that is. unfortunately, today we have now, as a result of these, as a result of this type of infiltration, we have a new age, a new group of millennials. This is expanded to the millennials. It's an entire culture of students that, they don't really have, they've deconstructed and have a tone of, similar to those who have infiltrated our values and our First Amendment right to freedom of speech. So here again, you can see these examples everywhere, whether it's the college platforms or, unfortunately, in our Congress and our government. These are just examples of things that are happening and how freedom of speech can be exploited or even, be somewhat of a Trojan horse to those who, want to, diminish our sovereignties and to, kind of use our country and its values, to subverge our culture and our freedoms. So here again, if you like what you're hearing today, of course, if you will hit the like button, maybe even hit subscribe, and maybe I'll see you next time.